All right, well, my name is Rocio Mendoza Sandoval, and I'm here today to tell you about how my faith has gotten me to my profession. Before I start, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background so that you can understand how I got to the places that I did. My parents were both born and raised in Mexico. Neither one of them completed elementary school. My mom must have just gone maybe 2 years, and my dad maybe 1. Both moved to the United States in hopes of having a better life. I have an older brother and a younger sister, and we were all born here, and my parents thought that we had the opportunity because this was the place, the land of opportunity. So, as we were growing up, they would always tell us, honey, you have the opportunity to be someone. You will go to the university, and you will earn a degree. And the three of us would just look at each other, and we'd say, yeah, we're going to do it. But inside we were thinking, how? How are we going to do it? No one in our family had ever attended the university, so we didn't know what steps were we supposed to take or who we had to talk to. So I was in high school, and my friends started to apply for the university, and I thought, oh, this is my chance. I filled out applications, and I was accepted to Cal Poly and Chico University. But the one thing I never was told is that I also needed to apply for grants and loans. So there I was with acceptance to 2 great universities, but I couldn't go anywhere because I didn't have the money, and I felt that if I asked my parents for it, I would just add another bill in their stash that they had to pay for. So I decided to go to Saddleback College and then transferred to a university from there, and I transferred to UCI. During this time, I was working in a vitamin shop 2 or 3 days a week for just a couple of hours. Only the Lord knows how I paid for everything, but I didn't ask my parents for anything, and I didn't get any loans. So I was able to pay for my university, my tuition fees, and my books, and my gas, everything that I needed. So, again, only the Lord knows how I did it, and my parents praying for me, and my brother and sister cheering me on, too. And finally, I graduated from UCI. My dreams and my hopes of being a teacher were the thing that I had always wanted to do since I was a little girl. But because my friends that I had grown up with that were already in the credential program had told me that the exams and the loops and hoops that teachers had to go through in order to get their credential were so difficult, I wasn't too sure that I wanted to go through all those challenges. So I decided to come home and take a break from everything. So I told my parents, don't bother me. Don't tell me to go out and look for a job. I already got my degree. I've gone to the university. Give me a break. I need a break. So 6 months later, I was bored of being home. And I gave in to the Lord, and I said, God, you're my guide. I'm going to apply to different places, and whomever calls me first and takes me in is where I'm going to work. So I applied as a translator. I applied as a translator for elderlies, and then the court, and I also applied for Capistrano Unified for different instructional assistant positions that they had at the time. Capistrano Unified was the one that gave me a call first, so I went, and when I arrived, they said, well, the position that we have for you is an instructional assistant for severely handicapped students. My heart started pounding, and I thought, severely handicapped students? Okay, Lord, this is where you're sending me. If this is what is meant to be, this is what I'm going to do. So I was hired on the spot. They sent me to a couple of trainings because I told them that I would like to learn more about students with disabilities. And the day that I reported to work, I was told that the student that I was going to work with one-on-one throughout the whole time had moved to a different district. That left me without a job. The principal must have seen something in me, and he told me, but you know what? You wait here for a couple of hours, sit down, and I'm going to call the district to see if you can work with the other students that are also have disabilities, and maybe you can work a couple hours there. And 2 schools were opening up, so they also needed extra help in the office. So somehow a job was created for me, and I stayed there. A couple days later, in my new position, a friend of mine walks in, and he told me that he was working on his credentials, and that Capistrano Unified was paying for his credentials, that there was a scholarship out there, and that I should apply, and I just had 2 weeks to finish it, and to turn it in and have it all complete. So I thought, okay, I was nervous, yet at the same time I knew I had to do it because I'm the believer that we meet people and we are put in certain situations because something great is going to happen. So I thought maybe this is the message that God is sending me. And so I turned in an application. Out of 200 people that applied, only 2 were going to be selected. My chances were really slim. But again, I thought if it's meant to be, God is going to help me. I was one of the chosen ones. My credentials were paid for. And I went to Chapman University. I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but wow, the Lord was with me. He was great to me, and I was given this opportunity that since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a teacher. So there I was at Chapman University. My dreams were coming true. I had a great counselor that was guiding me through everything. She made it possible that I had a full-time job with the district, and that I also could be a full-time student. So there I was, studying and doing everything that I had to do. I passed all those tests that they told me were so hard. I passed them. I was really proud of myself. Then I applied. Then I ended up finishing my credential. I had my credential. I was happy. I was ready to go and apply to be a teacher. I thought, well, Capistrano Unified paid for my credentials. They're probably going to hire me. Again, I said, okay, Lord, here we go. Fill out my applications again. I turned in my application for Santa Ana Unified, for Placentia Belinda, and Capistrano Unified. I interviewed with all 3 of them and only received a phone call from Placentia Belinda. Placentia Belinda hired me, and I was given a school that had sliding doors. It was an open school. It was one of the oldest schools in the district. So that means I could hear everything that my neighbor was saying, and my neighbor could hear everything that I was saying. But the beauty and the challenge for me was that my classroom had 2 special ed classrooms right next door to me. I went back and reflected that I had worked with students that had disabilities, therefore I was able to understand them better, and was able to help out my students that were in the classroom with me. And when they came to me and they said, Maestra, Los enfermitos no me dejan escuchar. Translation, the little sick kids don't let me listen. That was a teachable moment for me. I stopped and dropped everything and said, boys and girls, they're not sick. They were born with a disability. I gave them the difference between being sick and being born with a disability, and they were able to understand. And then I talked to the teachers and created moments where they could go out there and work with them and share moments with each other. And that just made it really fun for me, but at the same time I was also concerned that I wasn't doing my job, because I thought, wow, maybe there is too much noise going on between the two classrooms and the hallway. My students might not be learning. So every night I'd go home and I'd say, Lord, please help me. I want to make sure that these students are learning. How do I know that they're learning? One day, one of the special ed teachers came over to my room running, and she said, Rocio, I'm so sorry that my students are making so much noise. But my students and I were working on a science experiment. We were so into the experiment, we didn't even notice what was going on in her classroom until she came into the classroom and told us what was going on. So I went home and I thought, wow, my students are learning, because they're not listening to all that. They learned how to tune it out and to focus into whatever we were learning. The Lord had answered my prayers again and still continues to answer my prayers. In my personal life, as well as my professional life, I have learned that every person that we meet and that every situation we are put in have a reason. Enjoy it, learn from it, and have faith that the Lord is always with you. And that is that. Oh, yes. A couple years later, I got married, and I had a daughter, and decided that I wanted to move down to Capistrano Unified. And I applied the year I had my daughter, yet I was denied. I was told they didn't need me yet. And the following year, I applied again, and I was hired I'm currently working in San Juan Elementary School in a two-way program, and the only reason I'm still there as a temp teacher is because I have all the credentials that my counselor guided me through and just helped me out, so that I had all the credentials that I would need to be in the profession. So, yes, I'm here at Capistrano Unified, finally, after a couple of years. But yes, I did make it in.
Are there any challenges living your faith in a public school?
You know what? As he just mentioned right now, I model my faith. I don't necessarily say, believe in this God or believe this way, but I do model to my students. I tell them, don't do something to someone if you wouldn't like them to do it to you. And we role play, and when we're role playing, it's a lot of the things that we, in our religion, are learning. So I think that, yes, I do. But I don't explicitly say, well, look, this is my religion, let's do it this way. But, it's being good and treating each other with respect and trusting each other, too. So, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.